Picture it, the year is 1816. Europe is reeling from Napoleon's defeat at Waterloo. Monarchs gather at the Congress of Vienna to stitch the continent back together. Borders are drawn, thrones restored, and everyone expects the kingdom of the Two Sicilies to remain what it always was, a southern backwater ruled by the Bourbon dynasty, rich in lemons and volcanoes but poor in ambition. Naples and Palermo became footnotes in the 19th century, their kingdom annexed into a new Italian nation by Garibaldi's red shirts. But here the story bends. Ferdinand I, king of the Two Sicilies, refuses to be pawn of Vienna. He sees opportunity in the chaos. His kingdom may lack industrial muscle, but it has something rare: fertile soil, strategic coasts, and a people hardened by centuries of foreign invaders. He decides his dynasty will not just survive, it will lead. He grants reforms, empowers local nobility, and builds loyalty through marriage alliances. His generals march north under banners promising Italian unity under Bourbon crown. Rome trembles at idea of Bourbon Italy. By 1830, the impossible has happened. Naples controls south and center of peninsula, and Austrian garrisons in the north are isolated. But the king is not content with Italy. He looks to Spain, another Bourbon realm. Through dynastic marriage, Naples secures alliance with Madrid. Two thrones, bound by blood, coordinate fleets that dominate western Mediterranean. Britain, wary of trade disruption, negotiates naval neutrality. Lives begin to shift. A Neapolitan sailor once ferrying lemons to Marseille now carries muskets to Catalonia. A Sicilian farmer pays taxes that fund cannon factories in Palermo. A priest in Rome preaches that Bourbon monarchy is divinely chosen to heal Europe's divisions. By 1848, the year revolutions erupt across Europe, the Bourbons seize their moment. While kings in Berlin and Vienna struggle to suppress crowds, Ferdinand's heir Francis proclaims himself champion of European unity. But unlike liberal dreamers, he casts monarchy as solution, not problem. It is an intoxicating mix, conservative stability wrapped in language of unity. Rebels weary of chaos, nobles fearful of republican mobs, peasants longing for bread, each finds hope in Bourbon promise. Naples becomes Rome of new age. The next decades see relentless expansion. Austria, drained by Hungarian uprisings, cannot hold Lombardy. France, torn by its own revolutions, concedes influence in exchange for Bourbon neutrality. By 1860, the kingdom of the Two Sicilies stretches from Sicily to Vienna, crowned in both Naples and Rome. Instead of Italy unifying under Piedmont Savoy, Europe begins to unify under Bourbon Sicily. Imagine human moments inside this empire. A Sicilian blacksmith, once forging plows, now manufactures rifles for Bourbon armies. A Parisian journalist, arrested for Republican pamphlets, is exiled not to Cayenne but to Palermo, where he marvels at southern grandeur. A Hungarian farmer watches Bourbon soldiers march through his fields, their banners showing not Bourbon Lille alone but a map of Europe crowned as one. A Neapolitan noblewoman marries a Bavarian prince, her dowry a symbol of unity more than wealth. By 1870, the Bourbon Empire styles itself the Christian Confederation of Europe, a monarchy spanning multiple kingdoms but bound to Naples as center. It resembles the future European Union but forged in bayonets and dynasties, not treaties. The capital alternates between Naples, Vienna, and Barcelona, each city a jewel in expanding crown. The cultural ripple is massive. Italian language spreads across administration, rivaling French as lingua franca. Opera from Naples fills theaters in Prague. Sicilian dishes pasta con lessard, arancini becomes staples in Paris and Warsaw. Catholicism reigns supreme, yet Bourbon monarchs tolerate Protestants and Orthodox, claiming unity requires compromise. Universities in Bologna and Madrid teach a new discipline, European studies, centuries before our timeline. Children across continent recite anthem praising unity under crown of peace. Globally, effects explode, colonialism accelerates under Bourbon banner. Spain's empire, decaying in our history, is revitalized with Neapolitan support. Cuba and Philippines remain European, fleets resupplied from Naples. North Africa becomes Bourbon-focused with Algeria and Tunisia under Christian Confederation. Britain, rival at sea, checks expansion but cannot block it all. Instead of French Africa, much of Mediterranean coast is Bourbon Europe. Industry concentrates in North Italy, Catalonia, and Austria, while South lags behind. But empire holds together with propaganda and fear. A Sicilian worker joins strikes in Palermo, quoting Marx translated into Italian. A Polish priest prays for autonomy while praising unity. A Catalan merchant grows rich on colonial sugar, sending sons to Bourbon academies. The sense of Europe as shared identity grows, but always under Bourbon's shadow. World War I arrives differently. In our world, it began with rival alliances. In this world, Bourbon Europe is one bloc, so conflict emerges between Bourbon Europe and rival powers Britain, Germany, and Russia. The war erupts not in Balkans but in seas of Mediterranean. British dreadnoughts clash with Bourbon fleets off Sicily. German armies march into Austria, met by European coalition. Russians attack Poland, only to be checked by Hungarian and Italian divisions fighting as one. The war is titanic, not of nations but of empires. Millions die, trenches stretch across Alps and Carpathians, but Bourbon propaganda unites. Fight not for Naples, soldiers are told, but for Europe. By 1920, weary peace signed. Europe survives, scarred but intact under Bourbon crown. The interwar years bring tension. Republics stir in Paris and Budapest, but crushed by Bourbon police. Technology grows, automobiles in Vienna, radios in Naples, cinemas in Madrid. But freedom shrinks, dissenters vanish into prisons on Sicilian islands. Propaganda films show Pope blessing Bourbon king as savior of Christendom. Children raised to see crown not as foreign but as family. World War II takes different shape. No, Hitler rises in Germany, Bourbon surveillance to tight. But fascist movements brew in Britain, railing against Catholic Europe. Japan still expands in Asia, but Bourbon, Spain, Italy defend Philippines fiercely. The war becomes three-front: Bourbon Europe, Anglo-American alliance, and Japan. Bombers rain on Naples, London, and Tokyo alike. The war ends with nuclear weapons this time. Bourbon scientists, aided by German exiles, develop them alongside Americans. Hiroshima still burns, but Naples already tested atomic fire on Libyan desert. The Cold War dawns between Bourbon Europe and United States. USS are weaker, having collapsed under weight of internal revolts. The world splits into two: Catholic Europe with colonies and capitalist America with allies. Iron Curtain runs not through Berlin but Atlantic. Cuba remains Bourbon, Vietnam never happens, Africa colonized longer. By 1960s, Bourbon Europe faces crisis. Colonies rebel, Cuban guerrillas fight Bourbon troops in sugar fields. Algerians rise in desert, Nigerians protest under Neapolitan rule. Television broadcasts brutality worldwide. Students in Paris and Rome demand democracy, priests argue liberation theology. Yet Bourbon crown endures, reforming slowly, parliament expanded, local autonomy granted. Still monarchy, but looser, closer to confederation. By 1980s, Bourbon Europe stands as superpower. The European Confederation flag, a crown above continent, flies in space as satellites launched from Sicily orbit Earth. Colonies dwindled, but unity remains. Capital rotates between Naples, Barcelona, and Vienna. Euro, centuries early, becomes common currency. The Pope still blesses kings, but monarchy more symbolic. A new parliament grows powerful, blending monarchy and democracy. Europe is united, not by treaties of Brussels, but by centuries of Bourbon rule. Lives continue to reflect unity. A Sicilian grandmother remembers when British bombs fell in 1916, but now sees her grandson marry a German girl in Vienna, both citizens of one confederation. A Neapolitan professor teaches in Prague, his students quoting Dante alongside Goethe. A Hungarian farmer drives tractor funded by European subsidies. A Spanish singer toured Warsaw, cheered by crowds who see her as European, not foreign. Identity shifts from narrow to continental. By 2000, Bourbon Europe rivals United States as superpower. Two poles dominate world: American democracy and European monarchy turned confederation. Cold War tense, but cultural exchange grows. Internet arrives, used to spread both dissent and unity. Naples no longer capital of forgotten South, but heart of empire. Would this world be better? For Southern Italians, certainly no more being forgotten province. For Europeans, unity comes earlier, but under monarchy, not democracy. For colonies, darker Bourbon Empire clings to possessions longer. For world, stranger Europe united not by ideal of liberty, but by dynasty born in Naples. In our history, the kingdom of the Two Sicilies vanished into unified Italy, remembered mostly for poverty and decline. But had it risen, conquered north, and married its destiny to Europe, we might today live in a world where the crown of Naples sits atop an empire stretching from Lisbon to Warsaw, the first European Union forged not in peace but in conquest. So, what do you think? Could the forgotten South have crowned all of Europe, or was destiny always with the North? Drop your thoughts below and subscribe to Sheriff Reactions. Hit the bell for daily flips, where we explore not just what happened, but what might have been.